Hello everybody, this is Srinivas, Product Manager Sampro. In today's session, we'll talk about Service Provider Licensing Agreement with a focus on Microsoft SQL Server licensing. So let's get started. So many of the pointers that I mentioned are forward-looking in statement and will be covered under Safe Harbor. In terms of agenda, we'll talk about these four aspects, mainly why SQL Server license compliance is difficult. How can SAMPRO help you in support for SQL Server license compliance? How can SAMPRO help you for SPLA support specific to SQL Server? And then a use case to demonstrate SPLA license compliance with focus on SQL Server. So let's get started. SQL Server license compliance is a difficult proposition, mainly because of these four challenges. Inefficient discovery of SQL Server, because SQL Server includes both its component services like integration service and also the database. So it's crucial to identify components, their versions, their additions, and as well as the database versions, additions, and other details, both on cloud and on-prem, which is a difficult proposition. SQL Server license compliance is effectively evolving, and there are different licensing rules if a SQL Server is deployed on a virtual machine versus physical versus on the cloud. So effectively determining the compliance is a difficult proposition. SQL Server license compliance is pricier and expensive, and hence it's prudent that optimal assignment of licenses happen. So choosing whether to apply a SQL Server standard versus enterprise is important, which is difficult to manage. Bringing on licenses like Azure Hybrid Benefits and other licensing rules specific to other cloud providers like GCP and Azure, AWS is a difficult proposition. Finally, software assurance benefits are also difficult to apply, and workflow support is also important for taking remediation action. Now, this is supported in ServiceNow SAMPRO, especially the discovery, the license compliance support, the optimization, the bringing on license support, and the software assurance, as well as the workflows, which we'll see in action shortly. But this is just an overview of the support on SQL Server. Now, in terms of end-to-end support on Microsoft SQL Server, you can see that we support discovery, content, end of life, end of support normalization. And also we have got an experience where we have got a guided setup for SQL Server. We support Microsoft license statement imports. We have got detailed infrastructure reports and dashboards and charts. Licensing models are supported like enterprise agreement and SPLA. Core-based licensing models are supported as well as ServerCal. And also there are some new terms which have been recently released, which are also supported. In terms of optimization, we support optimization such as determining the best license to apply, whether enterprise or standard, and application of software assurance benefits like new version rights, license mobility, and all are supported. There are some other cool features which are upcoming like Cluster 360, which we'll show. And also, we are supporting different virtualization technologies like VMware, Nutanix, etc. In terms of cloud, we have support for major BYO licensing rules for AWS, Azure, GCP. We apply the benefits of AHP as well, and we have got a cloud cost simulator in case you want to experience the cost of migrating from on-prem to the cloud. And of course, ServiceNow is a workflow solution, so we do have remediation workflows to take action in case you are unlicensed, such as remove unlicensed installs or purchase rights. And also to make the configuration easier, we have got health checks so that once you have configured your SAM Pro for SQL Server, you can initiate health checks and get detailed visibility of the issues and remediation steps for them. Now let's move to service provider license agreement. Now we know that service provider license agreement is an agreement between the service provider and Microsoft. It's generally a 3-year term, and you only pay for the licenses that you have made available to your end customers. Now the end customers are not mostly liable for any licensing, and they just pay a service fee to the service provider. In terms of coverage, most or service provider license agreement or SPLA covers a wide range of products like Windows Server and SQL Server and supports different licensing models like per core and per purpose. Now let's understand SAM Pro support on it. So the support on SAM Pro is similar to what we just discussed, but in terms of specificity, we are able to discover the infrastructure of SQL Server, including the components, services deployed on-prem and on cloud. We are able to automatically apply the most cost-effective license. We're able to report on license consumption for end customers consuming the license. We're able to support different licensing models. And in case you have got software assurance, all the benefits of software assurance are auto-applied, like unlimited virtualization, license mobility, etc. And of course, remediation workflows are also supported. Now, to take into perspective and action, we would like to demonstrate some use cases. So the first use case that we would want to demonstrate is a simple use case where there is a service provider like yourself who has got a SPLA agreement with Microsoft, and the service provider has got a big infrastructure where there are various deployments of SQL Server, and parts of the infrastructure are being provisioned to different clients like Acme APAC and Acme North America. This customer is using this particular infrastructure for website hosting, and the second customer is using it for bank and application databases. The licenses made available to end customers are the following. So as service providers, you would want to report on the consumption of these licenses that have been made available to the service provider. In terms of infrastructure, the infrastructure that we've taken in this example that we'll shortly showcase is having all these details, like there are clusters running about 30 VMs for cluster A, cluster C, 80 VMs, cluster X, and cluster Y. And you can see that they've been assigned to different clients, Acme APAC and Acme North America. There are other parts of the infrastructure that will be provisioned to other customers as you grow. So this is the infrastructure. So let's move into the demonstration on it. We will showcase the consumption, as well as we'll showcase optimization that has been achieved. A short note on optimization, as we just discussed, we apply the most cost-effective license. So in this case, as we saw that we have got enterprise and standard licenses made available, we will choose the most cost-effective license. For example, if we take example of cluster A, it is cost-effective to license VMs using standard, because if we compare the cost, we will find that it is more effective to apply the SQL Server standard license at the VM layer for this particular cluster. So all this backend logic happens automatically, and we automatically choose the most cost-effective license to apply. For this example of cluster A, we applied the SQL Server standard license, as you can see here. Now let's move to the demonstration. So you can see here that I'm into SAM Pro, and before moving to compliance, I could, as a SAM manager, I can check the entire infrastructure. So I've got this infrastructure report where I can see the different infrastructure deployed and the SQL Server installations on it. And I can also make a sense of which clients have been provisioned which infrastructure, as in this case, Acme APAC is there. And there's some infrastructure that is not yet deployed to or not yet provisioned to customers. So these will not be licensed. Now, if I want to understand consumption, I can move to Microsoft case. I can go to 2017 standard or 2019 enterprise. I can see that for the licenses that have been made available to the customer, these many have been consumed. I can check the licenses made available. I've got software assurance, and I've got 800 writes, which have been provisioned or made available to two customers, Acme APAC and Acme North America. I can go and see the consumption. I can, and this is where the optimization has already kicked in. And I can see that I had two licenses, 2017 Standard and 2017 Enterprise, but for cluster A, 2017 Standard was consumed. As you can see here, 2017 Standard, and you can see the licenses consumed or licensed, and whether the licenses have been applied at the VM or the host layer. So in this case, is virtual is true, that means that it's been applied at the VM layer. Now, generally, as SAM managers want to understand more details about the infrastructure, especially on a cluster, because we have seen that cluster deployment is quite common. And so we have introduced this feature known as SAM Cluster 360. It provides a more visual graphics as to how you can view the host on a cluster, what are the cores, what are the VMs running on the cluster. If you want to understand, if you've got host affinity, what are the potential VMs on potential hosts on which that particular VM can move? What are the software installs? In this case, there are 30 SQL Server standard installs running on this cluster, and also the entitlements or software models consuming it. So more detailed analysis can be done by SAM managers for infrastructure and licensing. Now, in terms of installs that have been consumed, you can move to install section and check, these are all the deployments of SQL Server and the different clients which are consuming the license. I can group by and see that, the two clients, customers have been consuming these many installations. Now, if I want to understand more details about why 4 writes have been consumed, what is the licensing model applied, I can click on this number 4 and understand more details about it. But let me just move to license metric consumption results and see which customers have been consuming how many writes. So I can see that in terms of the licenses available, core licenses available, 120 have been consumed by Acme APAC and 24 have been consumed by Acme North America. So this is important reporting details for service providers, and so this can be easily exported as well. You can see that you can export it as well. So likewise, you could do the same for 2019 Enterprise. As you saw in the previous example, consumption happened for 2017 standard, for cluster A at 2017 standard. For cluster C, it happened at the enterprise layer, enterprise entitlement, because cluster C had very high number of virtual machines running. And so it is more cost effective to license at the host layer in this regard. So you can see that is virtual is false. So these are host and these are the licenses that have been consumed for the host. Again, I can check the installs. I can check the license consumption results as well. So that effectively concludes our demonstration on SPLA support for Microsoft SQL Server on SAM Pro. Let us know if there's any questions. Thank you.